And then the aspect of where are we going? Is it five there? Where does everything come from? Who owns everything? And then, okay, how do you know what to know? And then what you're supposed to do, and then where are you going? Okay, another where are you going? And then once you're clear with that, it's only natural you're going to work upon that. Yes, work upon that reality of where you're going. Okay, so the five great questions. So where does everything come from? Who owns everything? How do you know what to know? And then where are you going? Then you know that once where you're going is clear, then what you're supposed to do is going to be related towards where you're going. Yes. So because life is journey. So life is journey, journeying man, journeying woman. So you're journeying, and that journey necessitate certain principle. That principle, that etiquette, we call adab. So the first adab is to know your Lord. Okay, part of the adab is to really to know, and that relation to know your Lord is connected with that question of where does everything come from and who owns everything. That's connected with that La ilaha illallah. Okay, it is answering the question of Tauhid. Okay, question of knowing the source, knowing the reality. Okay, so once you are clear about that, then the next question is about how do we know what we know? Okay, how do we know what we know? That's very important. Episteme. So that's related towards Muhammad Rasulullah. So the first two questions is connected with La ilaha illallah, and the third question is connected with Muhammad Rasulullah. Okay. So once that's clear, that's become the asas, that's become the foundation of moment to moment of your functioning. So moment to moment of your functioning is based upon that two. La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. Okay? So once you're clear about that two bases, the idea that La ilaha illallah is the idea of unseen, Muhammad Rasulullah is the seen. Yeah? Because we are constantly engaging with something that we can see. And that what you can see is related to something that you can't see with the naked eye, but you can see with the eye of creed, the eye of belief. Okay, so already you can see the two aspects is connected. The seen world and the unseen world is connected. It's just you yourself. The seen of you, the physicality, it is connected with your spirituality, with your soul. If you pull the soul, the unseen aspect, you collapse. You are functioning because the soul is there, which means the unseen. Make sense? But when you see, do you see the soul? Can't see the soul. You only see the physical part of that being. But your knowledge is telling you, yes, part and partial of that physicality, but beyond that, that allowed that physical to function, is the soul. The soul exists. Yes? The soul exists. So the two elements there, the idea of the unseen and the seen, is together. You cannot segregate them. Yes? So once you clear that two bases, where does everything come from? Who own everything? This under La ilaha illallah. And then the question of how do you know what you know? Episteme, epistemology. Okay? The sciences that study science. Okay? That's under Muhammad Rasulullah. That's where the sense of unbroken chain of understanding. Okay? So once you're clear with that too, now you come to that fourth question. Okay? The fourth question is connect to us. What, where are you going? فَأَيْنَ تَذْهَبُونَ? Yes? Because life is journey. So journeying indicate you're going somewhere. Okay? So once you're clear where you are going, then the fifth is that anything that you do is all, it is connected to where you are going. Okay, so whatever that we do tonight, part and parcel of that doing, it is connected to us, your journey. So you can see that 5 element, it tied very nicely, it anchored with your day-to-day activity. Can you see it? How the 5 question, it anchored with your day-to-day activity. Because فَأَيْنَ تَذْهَبُونَ, where are you going? Once you clear where you're going, okay, now that clarity, that mental clarity where you are going, it start to permeate your state, provoke or stimulate your state. Okay, prepare yourself towards that where you are going. Yes? So that number 4, once that is clear, now your activity, your movement is going to be triggered. Yes? Going to be triggered. So the idea that where does everything come from? Who owns everything? There's under La ilaha illallah. How do you know what you know? There's Muhammad Rasulullah. Okay? And then that in itself, it reveals about that you're doing something, and that doing something, preparation for something. Okay? And that's what God said in the Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullaha wal tanzur nafsum ma qaddamat lighad wattaqullah inna allaha khabirum bima ta'malun. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullaha wal tanzur nafsum ma qaddamat lighad wattaqullah inna allaha khabirum bima ta'malun. ولا تكونوا كالذين نسوا الله فأنساهم أنفسهم أولئك هم الفاسقون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا, O you who believe, what have you done in preparation in that journey? What have you prepared? Yes? What have you prepared for the day? يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد. Oh, you who believe, within yourself there is an element of fear and hope. Okay? That fear and hope, what fire you, what motivate you to do something or not to do something. Okay? The moment the thought come, oh, if I do that, I'll be in trouble. That set you back. You don't want to do that. The moment you think something, oh yes, if I do that, I'll be safe. Now it triggers you to do that. So at your centralization of your being, there's an element of al-khawf wal-raja, fear and hope. That is the center of motivation. Okay? And your thought is constantly provoking that 2 state. Some thought, it promote and provoke the state of fear. Some thought, it promote and provoke the state of hope. Okay? So within the fear and hope, the thought that you have, without being clear about the source, you more likely is going to provoke fear more than the hope. If your thought is not connected to that giver, to the source. Where does everything come from? Who owns everything? Okay? And then the elements of how you know what you know. this idea of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Okay, so that, it gives you that envision about journey. Okay, envision about why you do what you do, how you do it, and that why, what, how, a sense of clarity is set you off. It fire yourself, get ready, prepared to face any hurdles, obstacle, destroyer. You face them with the right manner so that you always win-win situation. Because you have mental clarity, emotional balance, and that mental clarity and emotional balance will provoke that state of physical strength, not physical fatigue. You have this physical fatigue because your mental is blurry, is not clear. There's no clarity. Okay? Knowledge is supposed to provoke a state of clarity, mental clarity, and you get that clarity through Tauhid. Not other than Tauhid. You have to be firm with your Tauhid. First and foremost of all knowledge, the basis of any knowledge is the knowledge of Tauhid. No Tauhid, no life. All the Prophet come, the first call of all the messenger from the Prophet Adam alayhi salam until the last Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ya ayuhan nas, qulu la ilaha illallah. Is the call for Tawheed. That la ilaha illallah is pointing to that wahdah, one and only one. La ilaha illallah. When you say that, you are affirming one and only one, wahdah. And you are affirming la sharika la. There's no association. There's no interference with his work, with his activity. None. Purely his work, his action. So that becomes clear to your vision. And envision that reality. Whatever that you see, you are seeing his artifact. You are seeing his work. Neglecting that perception. Neglecting the most important part of your reality. Then you become mental blurry. Mental clarity starts from witnessing one and only one. Witnessing his af'al, his asma, his sifat, and anchored yourself with his zat. Wajib al-wujud, in facing the jaiz al-wujud. Necessary existence, in facing conceivable existence. Okay? So once you establish that clearly, now you establish the first adab, etiquette. Okay? So once you establish that inner etiquette, inner adab, now it will mold, shape, cultivate, direct yourself towards external adab. So adab zahir and adab batin. Okay? How are you being inwardly? That's called inner adab. How are you being outwardly? That's called external adab. And all the adab, the basis of all adab, it based upon Tawheed. Yes, that la ilaha illallah. So when you say that la ilaha illallah, there is no God but Allah, you're affirming one. What one? One action, one work, one's happening. Whatever is happening is only by him, from him, to him, not other than him. Purely. That's where you call it af'alullah, asma'ullah, sifatullah, zatullah. That is the place whereby you're constantly affirming in your heart, remembering that reality, that Allah, Allah. Yes, it should be at the level of your witnessing. at the level of anything that you hear, anything that you see, anything that you experience through your senses, the ability to pierce through and affirm the one and only one, wahdah la sharika lah, because you are witnessing that lahul mulk in the grandeur level. La ilaha illallah wahdah la sharika lah lahul mulk. His is the dominion. His is the dominion. Lahul mulk. And with that, not just lahul mulk, his domain, what he is governing at the level of walahul hamd. Praise, not blame. Praise. Lahul mulk walahul hamd. So once you're clear with that, from that la ilaha illallah wahdah la sharika lah lahul mulk, okay, that governing aspect, the grandeur, okay, the whole, okay, seeing the whole, the one that managing day and night, night and day, the one that managing your heart, the one that managing you, the continuity from existence, okay, and then continuity of your existence, and then the gift of that conscious, that lahul mulk wa lahul hamd, okay, he's the praise and he manage all his management, there's no blame, praise. That's why it's related to praise, and the essence of your worship, your ibadat, is based upon hamd, not lawn. Praise. That's why when you start your prayer, Allahu Akbar, that Allahu Akbar, part and partial of praising. And the whole of your prayer from the beginning until the end, start from that Allahu Akbar and you give salam, is all about praise and glorify. Nothing. Completely, utterly, absolutely praise and glorify. Nothing else. Completely. That is the essence. Yes? So that lahul mulk, and that lahul mulk, his domain, the big picture, that Rabb, Alameen, that Alhamdu, all praise, Lillah, only towards Allah, Rabb, the nurturer, the one that nurturing you, molding you, shaping you, cultivating you, and directing you somewhere. If you but see with the inner eye, with the right perception of affirmation of La ilaha illallah, if you see with the light of Tauhid, yes, the light of Qul huwa Allahu ahad, Allahu samad, lam yalid, wa lam yulad, wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad, ahadun ahad, ahadun ahad. That's ahadiyah, wahdiyah, oneness and unity. Yes? To see the one in many, to see the many witnessing the one. One for all for one. One for all for one. One for all for one. Never come out from that reality of Tawhid. Lahul mulk wa lahul hamd. Yuhyi wa yumit. That yuhyi wa yumit. Yuhyi wa yumit. What is it about? The day and night. We heard the news just now, yesterday. Oh, just now. Oh, someone just passed away now. Wa yumit. But before that, yuhyi. It's alive. But who is doing that? That aspect of yuhyi wa yumit. the giver of life, and the one that deals death. That is very crucial, very important part of your being exists. Okay, either someone that in that state of great appreciation, gratitude, shukr, or kufr is connected to us understanding about yuhyi wa yumit, and that yuhyi wa yumit, la ilaha illallah wahdah la sharika lah lahul mulk yuhyi wa yumit. You see that praise element, that his word has been directed towards life and death. And for him, wa huwa hayyul la yamut, he ever living, hayyun la yamut, and dies not. Dies not. Yes? Biyadihil khair, and all good that each of us are searching and looking for is with his hand. Is with his hand. Biyadihil khair, wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir, and with him absolute power, absolute might, absolute control. Wa ilayhil masir, and to him you will return. That's the last. So when you say that la ilaha illallah come to mind, you are affirming that wahdah la sharika la lahul mulk wa lahul hamd yuhyi wa yumit wa huwa hayyul la yamut biyadil khair wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir wa ilayhil masir, la ilaha illallah. You are affirming that all, that life functioning, life activity. Subhanallah. Now if you place your attention there, that's adab. If you move away from that, that's sul adab. Sul adab. You can't talk about appreciation. You cannot talk about gratefulness and gratitude while not witnessing his word, his action. You cannot. Appreciation starts from acknowledging the giver. Okay? The giver of life. The giver of that continuity of your life. And the giver of your conscious. These three aspects. Nothing to do with anybody. Nothing to do with anybody. It's just purely his word. The three aspects. You being exists, continuity of your existence, and conscious. And that conscious is connect towards knowledge. What I'm talking now is knowledge. And this knowledge I'm explaining to you, provoking, opening your conscious. That conscious is conscious of him, not other than him. So now in a way, the moment you sit in the study circle, the greater circle, no other greater circle than this circle. Not this circle particular, circle that bring your conscious back to alignment. Which means a circle that really talk, explain, that you come back to your mind, to your heart, being present back to him. 10 inches to come in. Yes, you're listening to me, you're contemplating, you're reflecting about that, but not just contemplating as know to know, but knowing to be. Yes, from knowing, it provokes that being, that human being. Okay, that human being, who are you being? Are you being someone that really connected to the source, or someone that neglect the source? If you neglect the source, then you are not shukr, you're kufr. Wal'iyadu billah. Yes? So our job is to maintain and sustain that conscious alert constantly. Yes? And that's the whole point. Because the world that you're living now is the world of distraction. You can easily get distracted. Yes? One thing after another get distracted. And you constantly, after a while, you want to be distracted. That's why to pay attention to one thing, that what I'm doing now, you find it so difficult. Oh my God, when's it going to finish? When's it going to finish? Yes, because my thought, all the letters, words, sentences, paragraph, narrative that I'm giving to you is centralized, affirming the reality of Tauhid, affirming the reality of Tasawwuf, Ihsan, and affirming the reality of Fiqh, Islam. So there is Tauhid, Iman, Tasawwuf, Ihsan, Fiqh, Islam, which is the source of reality. One and only one. So because of that, you find it so difficult to maintain and sustain, because you overstimulate with certain things that relate to the seen. But when I'm talking, is nothing seen here. I'm bringing you back to that source, the unseen. Yes? So you need to just embrace that and maintain and sustain that inner dimension. Okay? So if you can hold it long enough until it settles down, now you become more firm. When it becomes firm, so when you go to the secondary circle of your life, this is primary circle. Okay, the primary circle comprises the circle whereby God name has been mentioned. Okay, the Prophet name been mentioned. Okay, all that been mentioned is relate to us that source. Okay, that relate to us. The Creator is relate to us, the representative of that Creator. Okay, is relate to us that absolute good, absolute praise, and absolute sweet. The GPS, good, praise, sweet. So that when you face the BBB, bad, blame, bitter, the partial bad, blame, bitter, you can produce a second set of BBB, behavior become bliss. Yes? We don't want to produce behavior become blame. Yes? Most people are at that level because when they face any situation, circumstances that does not fit, okay, does not suit certain thing, they get disturbed and they trigger certain thing, they knock themselves out of balance. Because their Tauhid is not rooted. Their Tasawwuf is not blending with the flesh and blood. And their articulation and action does not reinforce that reality of Tauhid and Tasawwuf, Iman and Ihsan. This is what we want to do. So constantly guard yourself. Any situation, any circumstance, bring the best version of you, not the worst version of you. That's the first adab. Hopefully I answered that question. Yes? And then the question you have, come on, the Malay, merayu. Apa soalannya? Ada soalan tu tidak? Ini orang putih datang jauh-jauh daripada London tanya soalan. Yang korang depan tak tanya soalan. Bila Tuan Syeikh tanya korang, kau tak boleh jawab pula. Baiklah, kalau tidak ada soalan, if there's no question, insyaAllah we stop there. Because they set the food already there, isn't it? Yes? غفر الله له ولوالدينا ولجميع المسلمين بجاه سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وأولياء الله الصالحين آمين. نفع الله به وإياكم كما نفع بأصله أنه جواد كريم ولا حول، وأن يجعله خالصا وجه الكريم والسببا لفوز جنة النعيم آمين. الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ولا الضالين. بارك الله فيه. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.